I consider myself a farmer. But just like many of you, I have had to become much more than that. I'm an accountant, I'm a software IT guru, I'm a marketer, I'm an operations manager, I'm a HR manager, and a salesman, and the list goes on. In the world we live in today, if we're not continuing to work on our craft, we will be left behind. And a huge part of working on our craft is exploration into opportunities offshore. After 10 years and 21 revisions, the Australia Free Trade Agreement is finally finished. We are told that this will open up Australian business to China's $10 trillion economy. The government and the media have been eagerly telling us that Australian farmers will be the winners in this FTA. But what does this really mean? And what does it mean to you as people in agribusiness? To help address this question, we have assembled a list of great speakers from federal government, state government, industry experts, as well as real business cases of people executing a China strategy today. Hopefully their stories and their experiences will give you a unique perspective and understanding into how you might be able to better access China. The facts are that Australia is a net exporter of fresh food. Last year, Australian farmers contributed fed 60 million people around the globe. Our farms cultivated 53% of Australia's rich arable land and employed 1 in 6 people in Australia. This contributed to 12% of the gross domestic product, or 155 billion. The most exciting and interesting fact for me as a farmer is that 93% of the produce consumed by Australians was produced by Australian farms. In contrast, China is a net importer of food, and earlier last year abandoned their self-sufficiency strategy due to concerns about the amount of arable land, access to safe water, and quality soils to produce enough food for their 1.4 billion hungry mouths. Today's speakers will again share their stories and experiences focusing on 3 areas. What are the opportunities in the Chinese market for you as agribusiness? How can agribusiness access China more effectively and survive and thrive? And how has agribusiness succeeded in connecting with China to date, and what can we learn from that? Before I introduce our speakers, I'd just like to share a little bit of a story with you about my story with Australian Fresh Leaf and how we got into the fresh herb market and also executed our own unique China strategy. Back in 2006, I discovered that chefs and custom consumers in Australia were unhappy with the quality, price, consistency of fresh herbs that were being purchased. In reviewing the landscape of the fresh herb industry, I quickly identified that the supply base was highly fragmented. There were a lot of mums and dads, large operations feeding a central market and providing inconsistency in the timing of the product, which drove erratic pricing and inconsistency. Throughout this research, I also identified that the industry was in a time of growth. It was growing at 25% per annum when I entered in 2006. This was driven mainly by popular TV shows such as MasterChef and My Kitchen Rules, and it was really changing the Australian food cooking culture and enticing Australians to go back to the kitchen and cook more. Unfortunately, I probably wasn't one of those, was I, Jill? Our market position when we entered the market was simple: to create a stable source of fresh herbs for consumers and chefs, set 2 seasonal prices, 1 in summer and 1 in winter, and make sure that we were identifiable by our customers that we were purchasing, because we didn't just want to be a commodity, we wanted to be a brand. Funnily enough, I didn't actually enter the market as a farmer, but instead I connected a national supply base of farmers and started to win my customers with this method. And by connecting all these farmers together, I created a knowledge base and started to learn about Australian farming. This approach ultimately introduced me to William Pham, who's my business partner of today. And at the time, William was growing 2,000 bunches of hydroponic basil And in 2008, on my 26th birthday, I became a farmer. Throughout this journey, we learnt how traditional farmers farmed herbs. We've travelled all around Australia and met some fantastic people. We made a lot of mistakes and we lost a lot of money, but this was all learning for us. From our learning, we quickly adapted our growing methods to encompass a blended future farming approach. And we utilised and built on technologies such as hydroponics, vertical cropping, and changed some of the existing processes that other farmers were adopting. Our vision was a statistical-based farming model, removing and controlling all those challenging variables that growers face on a day-to-day basis. We then developed a proprietary information management system that lives in the cloud, and it controls everything we do in our business, and we can control our farms from our iPhone. A mere 7 years on, we took our 2,000 bunches of basil a week and increased our production and procurement to an average of 120,000 bunches, pots and punnets a week across 40 different varieties, and worked closely with Coles supermarkets and chefs all around Australia and in 17 countries. Through attending forums such as this one, and heaps of networking and getting to know people, we were introduced to a company called eInvest. eInvest helped us form a new company called eAgri that created an opportunity for us in China. The approach that we have taken for our China strategy is to license our proven new age methods and our technology and sustainably assist China in meeting their fresh food demands. The exciting news is that this month we've successfully raised approximately $2 million in investor funding and already have 2 potential licensees in China and 1 in Australia. I hope that gives you a bit of insight into me and who I am and what I bring to the table. And I think that's about enough about me. I'd love to introduce our first speaker, who is Anthony Plummer from the Department of Economic Development, specialising in China trade and investment. Anthony will be talking to us today about the Victorian Government's initiatives and finer details on the FTA. He aims to empower you to understand what your business might be able to do to capitalise on the market opportunities in the developing China and broader Asia. Thank you.